We made big efforts this time round to actually get our studios involved in the design of the hardware, and you know, that has manifested itself in the device just been easier to develop for, and it also meant that our studios were engaged from a very early point in the you know, in the development of the hardware, because rather different to the approach that we took on both PS2 and PS3, where, you know, great bits of hardware, but not the easiest devices in the world to develop for, as you know, many developers will, I'm sure, have told you. There are two things that I would point to. The first would be that I think with PSP that we tried to position it as a rather broad multimedia device, and you know, we talked a lot in the early days of PSP about its video playback functionality, its use as a music device, you know, and a host of other multimedia type bits of functionality that the device had. And I think this time round we've realized that perhaps ended up confusing consumers, and they weren't quite sure what the device was really all about. So this time, while Vita does all that stuff that you know, that we talked about on PSP, and it does it a lot better, we've been much more single-minded and much more focused in our positioning of Vita, and you know, we're saying that this is primarily a gaming device. It has been developed from the ground up as a gaming device. What it does best of all is play games. So that'd be one thing. The other thing would be that I think we learnt that what consumers didn't really appreciate was basically getting, in many cases, ports of PS2 and then subsequently PS3 games made available for their PSP. Because they basically said, well, if that's what you're going to do, I'll just play the game on my PS2 or PS3. And we're helped here by the nature of the interfaces that are available on Vita. What we learned is that the gaming experiences need to be unique and differentiated, you know, for consumers to really want to get into them. We've obviously got lots of numbers internally that we track against and we're held accountable for. But you know, in my mind, excellent market acceptance and very happy consumers, and that sort of sounds a bit wishy-washy, but you know, I think if your consumers are happy, everything else can follow from there. You know, if you set out with a sort of spreadsheet approach, and you know, these are the numbers we've got to, you're quite likely to go wrong. But if you set out with the aim of just making your consumers happy, I think you're much more likely to end up in a condition of success. Possibilities that the device offers are for, you know, richer, deeper, more immersive games than up till now have ever been seen on a handheld device. And you know, going back to that question about the apps, if you know, at one end you've got your 59p app, and at the other end you've got the £59 or €59 PS3 game, our responsibility is to ensure that the gaming experience offered by Vita is much closer to this end than it is to that end.